this knife company here called Steel. I love knives and I love guns even more. Cold Steel is a huge, proud supporter of our Second Amendment. And I noticed that as I walked around the show today, many of my fellow NRA members are carrying knives. Well, I want to talk to you about how you can use knives for self-defense and when it's appropriate and when it's not. The first thing I want to talk about is don't use a knife inappropriately and go to jail for the rest of your life. Defend yourself with your hands and feet, God's natural weapons first, if you can. But there are times when you can't, and that's when a knife becomes appropriate. Well, first of all, I want to talk about disparity of force. If you're 75 years old and you're attacked by a 22-year-old man that's 6'4", weighs 240 pounds, as a weightlifter, that might be a appropriate time to use your knife to defend yourself. He has height, weight, reach, age, strength, conditioning. He has every natural advantage. So you're not unlikely to be able to successfully defend yourself with God's natural weapons. That might be a time that's appropriate to use a knife. If there's multiple attackers, if someone is trying to beat you up and there's 2 or 3 or 4 people and they're kicking and punching you and you're afraid for your life, that might be an appropriate time to use your knife. If you're in an argument with somebody, don't pull your knife out and shove your blade in their belly. That's inappropriate, and that'll get you 20 years in jail. You'll find out about Texas jails, and I don't think you'll like them. All right? That's not appropriate. If we've talked about disparity of force, if you're 5'6" and you weigh 130 pounds, and someone's 6'4", 240 pounds, starts beating you about the face, head, and body, and you start to feel like your life's in danger, that might be an appropriate time. But you have to use knives in proportion to the attack, and that's always good to remember. Now, you can cut somebody a little bit, but you can't shoot them a little bit. So, the first thing I want to teach is how to use a knife and minimize the damage. If I want to minimize the damage to Ron, I'll rake him with my point. I'll take my point like this and go over his forearm or his body just with the point like this, and I'll tear the skin open. That will drive most people off. They'll go, I don't want any more of that. I'm out of here. Okay? So we're going to go up the force continuum. The first thing is with a rake. The next thing might be with a cut, and the last thing will be a stab. When you stab somebody, you're going way up the force continuum. That's almost always lethal. You have a 40% chance of killing somebody with one stab wound. Only a 10% chance with one gunshot wound. Did you know that? 40% more lethal. So when you stab somebody, you better be in the right. Okay? Because you have a really good chance of taking their life. Now, there's also a lot of evildoers out there. They need to be put in the box and put in the ground. They're evil. And they're going to take your life and deprive your family of your support and benefit the rest of your life. That's what they're trying to do. So it may be appropriate at some time to go up to the top of the force continuum and use the point. But most of the time, you can drive people off just with the edge. Just drop this. If Ron's punching me and he goes to hit me, I'll come here. I'll just take the edge here and I'll pick that up. And as I do that, I'll move. He's bleeding and I'm bleeding. You don't have to sit there and cut somebody like this. No, I turned into the aggressor. I cut him a couple times and then I stabbed him. No, for a punch? Don't do that. Ladies, if someone grabs a hold of you and starts dragging you into a car, you almost never come out. That might be the time he's dragging me in the car. I might start working him off the point because statistically, if you're dragged into a car and abducted like that, you're not coming back. Isn't that? I see some law enforcement out there. Isn't that right, brother? Statistically, don't let someone drag you into a car. You're not coming home. That's the time to go wild. Okay? But you men out there, in particular, when someone punches you, don't sit there and stab them. You can get by with a cut. I like to cut on the outside of the arm. I'll tell you why. All of the veins and arteries and all the important tendons that control the use of your hands are on the inside of your arm. Don't deprive people of the use of their hands the rest of their life unnecessarily. Cut them if all possible on the outside of the arm. Right there. I put that cut in. He's bleeding. I'm leaving. One cut. I'm out of there. Okay? Now, if you have to defend your loved ones, maybe you're with your grandma and your wife and your 2 toddlers, and the escape's blocked and you have to stand and fight, then it might be appropriate to cut it a couple times. You know, I'm going to cut him until he stops firing on me because I can't go anywhere else. Okay? If I can run, but I can't leave my loved ones that are helpless, right? So that might be appropriate. You have to use God's good common sense that He gave you and not overreact and not get overexcited and use the knife inappropriately. Just like we don't pull a gun out and shoot somebody because they punch us in the mouth. You don't sit there and stab them either, all right? So I want that to sink in. Now, the knife, when you have your knife though, and you know what you're doing, you have tremendous confidence. There's no one that can beat you up. There's no one that can rape you. There's no one that can abduct you. There's not really anything they can do to you if you have a knife like this. Now I make a whole bunch of knives for Texans. In Texas, you can carry any knife, now listen to this carefully, that's not dagger shaped. If the blade's not dagger shaped and it's 5.5 inches or shorter in blade length, you can carry it. You can carry it concealed, you can carry it unconcealed, it can be a folding knife, it can be a fixed blade, it doesn't matter. You're lawful to carry a 5.5 inch blade in Texas. Knowing that, Cold Steel's made a whole bunch of knives 5.5 inches, because like I said, I love Texas. So for Texans, I made a whole bunch of folding knives and fixed blades that you can buy from us today that are appropriate to carry for self-defense. What I want to show now is, no matter what he does, I'm just going to pick off whatever Ron does with my knife. There, I cut him here, here, here. I just keep cutting him. I can cut here, here. I just keep cutting him until he stops his assault. Now, remember what I said first though, you only continue if you can't escape. When I get the first cut in, I'm out of there. He's dripping blood. Drip, drip, drip. He's not motivated to chase you down. Okay? So, use discretion. Use mercy. Use God's grace. Okay? Don't be unmerciful. Don't go here like this and then cut his face and scar him for the rest of his life and maim him. Don't do it. There's no need. 1, maybe 2 cuts, you're out. Okay? Now, if you're being overwhelmed though, by a bunch of people, I might turn right away and go and take him out because there's more people attacking me. So you have to base all of your actions circumstantial on what's fair, what's proper, what's right. Multiple people attacking you, that's not right. We all know that. If 3 or 4 or 5 people are assaulting you, we all know that's not right. The chances of you being killed go up. If someone knocks you on the ground and they start stomping you, you can easily be killed. Why? Your body is against the ground, which is the anchor. Their foot is the hammer. What happens when you hit metal on an anvil? You flatten the metal. When your body can't give and you're on the ground and someone's stomping you, it's very easy to be killed that way or have serious permanent damage done. So, you have a right to defend yourself against multiple attackers. You have a right to defend yourself in disparate force situations with a knife. If you don't have to pull your knife out though for a punch. Again, but once you're trained with a knife, you can use your hands as knives. And you just cut into him with your hand. Every time you hear it, I cut into him. He goes across us, I cut into him. He hits again, I use my elbow. And I counter back with my hands as a knife. You can use your hands as knives too as you progress in your training. Any questions now on self-defense with a knife? We're glad to answer right now.
Serrations versus plain edge.
A serration for self-defense is always preferable. It'll cut 3 times deeper in flesh than a plain edge. It'll cut through clothing, cut through leather jackets. You can't hide from a serrated edge, especially a cold steel one. Any other questions? Yes, the hands are the forearms. If I can, I'll always target his hands and his forearms. Right there on the outside of the hand. And lots of times if I want to limit the damage, I'll push in. If I want to make the damage greater, I'll pull out. So when I push in, I'm jamming the blade in there he's going to get a more superficial cut. If I pull the blade through, I'm going to increase the severity. And I want to show mercy. Lots of times when people assault you, they don't have any idea that they're going to go to the hospital for 47 stitches. Okay? That's not in their plan. And it's not always appropriate for you to maximize the damage to them either. So I usually will just press in. Like that, just pick it up. Let him run into my edge, which would do a lot of damage. Also, you can always back up. When someone's threatening you, you don't have to stand here. You can back up. And you can leave. You still got your knife, okay? You don't have to sit there and make it easy for them to assault you, all right? They almost have to run you down.
No, security.
Any other questions? Yeah, let's go on to smaller knives. Yes, 5.5 inches is the maximum blade length in Texas that you can carry without any excuse. You might be able to carry a longer blade if you're hunting or fishing, but you can go about your daily business with a 5.5 inch or shorter. It doesn't matter whether it's folding or fixed, as long as it's not dagger shaped. Now, these knives are very familiar to many of you. They look like a standard folding hunting knife. This is something that you can carry every day, super useful, but you can also defend yourself against edged weapons with it. Now, when I've got like a 4-inch blade, he's got a 5.5 inch blade. I know. I don't have any gloves on to protect my hand, but I'll just show you. You have to change how you fight with a short blade. I can't oppose him as easily. I'll have to take angles and move around his blade to interdict it. So my knife has to turn and move around, but you can't do it. It just takes practice. There's no free lunch in fighting, as you all know, or you should. There's nothing that you can do that doesn't take a lot of training. I wish there was a magic pill that I could give you that's instantly make you pretty good with a knife, but there isn't one. What I can always leave you with is, though, is that you cut and slash whatever comes at you. So if that's all right, I'm okay right now. I'll put him on if I think about it. If Ron's cutting me with that knife, I'll cut him, and I'm moving right away. I'm never standing still with the knife. So whatever he does, I'm going to look to cut him. There, I stuck my point in him, right there. There. When I can't reach him with the edge, I'll try to reach him with the point. Again, I move. My God made us in a marvelous way. He taught us all this articulation as he made us, okay? And your wrist can turn in every direction. So with a small knife, quite often, I'll have to turn my wrist to make contact. And lots of times I'll make up for my lack of reach with the point attack versus a cutting attack, especially to his hands. How many of you think that feels good? He goes to cut you with a knife, and you come in here, and you stack him like that. I just did right here, the fatty part of his palm right there. That goes in, it's going in all the way. It's gonna go clear to the bone. He's gonna go, ah, that hurt. He's gonna say, I don't think I want to be here anymore, right? So, you can use short blades. We train with all this stuff. I'll work the slightly longer blade. He's got 5.5 inch. I got about 4 inch, 4.25 inch blade here. Now I have a little bit better chance. Just as he touched me, I cut it. Then I got him with my left hand. You can use shorter blades to oppose longer blades, but I want to encourage you, just like in the gun magazines you hear articles about mouse guns, 22s and 25s not being that appropriate for self-defense. It's the same thing in knives. A 2-inch blade, a 3-inch blade, not very appropriate, not very effective. You can't get enough edge on target. It's too hard to be accurate with it. Look at that's a 2-inch blade. See how accurate I have to be? I have to be perfect. Life isn't perfect. So carry the biggest blade that you can feel comfortable with. Better you carry a 3-inch blade than nothing. But I encourage you to carry a 4 or a 5.5-inch, 5-inch blade folding knife for self-defense or fixed blade. A 2-inch blade, very difficult to use it successfully. 3-inch blade, a little better chance. A 4-inch blade, now you're starting to get up to reasonable. 5.5-inch blade in Texas, it's legal, and that's what I suggest you buy. So we've got a whole bunch of them here, 5.5-inch blades. We're going to give you 5 minutes and let you buy some. We're going to come back with some more stuff. Thank you. That's pretty good for a fat boy, don't I? I'm blessed by God. I have a 3,000 square foot, 2.5-story gymnasium. One wall's all mirrors, fully air conditioned and heated. Got everything in the world you want to train with in there. It's got a 20-yard archery range. This is what sets Cold Steel apart from every other knife company. This is a Warrior company, and all my employees are Warriors. I have paid for training classes for my employees. We have kettlebell classes that I paid for. We have martial arts classes that I paid for. It's a Warrior company. We have our own shooting range. Cold Steel has its own shooting range. A lot of you guys don't know that. I'm more of a gun guy than I'm a knife guy. So we have our own shooting range. Every Sunday after church, we go shooting for 5 hours sometimes. So we love the NRA. These are all our people here. And all the people in here, these are my peeps, as they say. You guys, we love you because you have the same interests and the same cherished institutions that we do. You love the Second Amendment like we do. What we're doing right now, though, is we're just warming up. So all I'm doing is bringing up my reflexes a little bit. And from walking around, I've been walking around being a normal person, now I'm starting to ramp up a little bit. One of the cool things is Texas. I love about Texas. It's really where the Bowie knife made its reputation. It started out in Louisiana, and then Bowie had the good sense to come to Texas and help y'all with your independence. You guys here at the Alamo, for all of us. It's one of my, even if there's some faults in his personal character, like his mother said, he was brave. When she heard that Jim Bowie died, here's what she said, God bless her. I'll warrant there were no wounds in his back. That's her reaction to her son's death. I'll warrant there were no wounds in his back. I've always admired that, and I'd like to emulate that in my own life. And Texas gave us the Bowie knife, and from there, it went around the world and became a knife institution. Everybody in the world's heard about a Bowie knife. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Most Bowie knives got a 10-inch to a 12-inch blade. They have a long, narrow point like this, a clip point, if you will, so they're pointy. They're usually sharpened on this back edge right here. They're sharpened there. And bless their heart, they all have a guard. And the guard is one of the things that sets a Bowie knife apart from everything else. See that lock? You ever see that? I'll move around. When he cuts at me, I can lock him on my guard right there for a microsecond and dispel him if I want to. I can pick him up and move him. I can pick him up and move him off and turn him around. That guard allows me to do things that I couldn't do if it wasn't there. So the guard on a Bowie knife is one of the most essential attributes that it has. And all this came from Texas, which we thank all the Texans for. And you guys are the ones that spread it around the world. So now I'm going to show you how you can use a Bowie knife. First of all, it's a premier stabber. And what's nice about a Bowie knife with the weight is what most people don't realize is I can fight from my wrist. When I have a shorter knife, Even though I parried there, a little bit came through and hit the tip of my thumb. It happened so fast you guys couldn't see it, but I felt it. I picked it up with my blade, but a little bit of that tip came through and hit me. So it's much harder to use a shorter knife. But when I have a Bowie, I can just turn my wrist and move him out of the way. Also, it's strong enough that I can beat his knife right out of his hand sometimes. No one wants to get close. You see that? Ron and I have a lot of respect for each other. It's putting your hand into a whirling blender. If you don't have two knives, most people don't know how to fight with two knives. It takes a lot of coordination because he'll feint you with one and cut you with the other one. So it all has to come out of conditioned reflex. One of my inspirations in my martial careers, Guru Dan Santo, and he said the muscles get brains of their own. As you train incessantly, God made us in such a wonderful way. Your subconscious mind directs your muscles to operate without almost any thought at all. I don't have to think what he did to do that. It just happens. It just happens. Whatever he does. I didn't think about any of those. I picked up all of those. They were not rehearsed. Those aren't coached. I just went in there and my reflex kicks those guys like off. There I got a cut. I saw in a microsecond, he went up, he went down. When he went up, I went outside and I cut just the outside of his arm here, my blade. That comes out of thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of knife fighting. So the Bowie knife is a quintessential American fighting knife. Step on up. We got a whole bunch of them here. We'd like to say we'll be back in about 5 minutes.